When Ulysses S. Grant woke up at 5 a.m. on that May 16, 1863, two railroad workers brought news that would make his heart race. Pemberton was advancing against him with 25,000 Confederate soldiers. Grant had only minutes to make the most critical decision of the entire Vicksburg campaign. What he did in the next few hours would not only define that battle but would prove something no other Union general had been able to demonstrate. For months, Grant had pursued a goal that seemed impossible, capturing Vicksburg, the Confederate fortress that controlled the Mississippi. But on May 16, 1863, Grant faced something much more immediate than conquering Vicksburg. He was about to fall into a deadly trap. Champion Hill was high ground, strategically perfect for defense. Pemberton had positioned his lines along a crest overlooking Jackson Creek. Grant realized immediately that position had been brilliantly chosen. But what Grant discovered at 7 a.m. would change everything. He realized something crucial. Pemberton did not know that a Federal column was advancing along Jackson Road, directly against his unprotected left flank. It was the perfect opportunity. Or the perfect trap. Grant arrived at the Champion House around 10 a.m. He assessed the situation in minutes. Grant made his decision: attack immediately. What happened in the next few hours would reveal whether Grant was truly different from all the other Union generals who had failed before him. At 11:30 a.m., Hovey's and Logan's brigades reached the main Confederate lines. The roar of cannons echoed across the hill. Around 1 p.m., something extraordinary happened. They took the crest of Champion Hill. The rebels were retreating in disorder. Grant had captured the vital crossroads and cut off the escape route along Jackson Road. But it was precisely at that moment of apparent victory that the trap snapped shut. General Bowen launched a devastating counterattack at 2:30 p.m. In minutes, the Yankees were driven from the crossroads. They were pushed back over the crest of Champion Hill. The victory Grant thought he had won was turning into disaster. It was the moment that would define not just that battle, but Grant's entire character as a leader. Because it was there, in that instant of absolute chaos, that Grant demonstrated something no Union general had shown before. He did not retreat. He did not hesitate. Instead, Grant organized another attack to regain the lost ground. And it was at that moment that he said something that would reveal his true genius. Hovey's divisions and Boomer's brigade are good troops. If the enemy defeated them, they must themselves be very much exhausted. It was a brilliant psychological insight. Grant understood something fundamental. Bowen had used his best troops in the counterattack. They were exhausted. It was precisely the time to attack again. Grant committed the forces that had just arrived, fresh troops against exhausted Confederate soldiers. Pemberton's men could not withstand this new assault. He realized there was only one escape route still open: Raymond Road, crossing Baker's Creek to the southwest. Pemberton ordered a retreat. General Lloyd Tillman was given the mission of forming the rear guard. Tillman knew it was a suicide mission. He had to hold the crossroads at all costs. And he paid the ultimate price. He was killed by artillery fire while carrying out his mission. But his heroic resistance allowed Pemberton to withdraw most of his forces. By nightfall, the Confederates were in full retreat toward Vicksburg. Grant had won the most decisive battle of the entire Vicksburg campaign. But the true significance of that victory went far beyond the numbers. For the first time in the war, a Union general had faced a deadly trap and, instead of retreating, had turned that trap against the enemy. Grant had demonstrated a quality none of his predecessors possessed: the ability to maintain the initiative even when it seemed he was losing. The ability to see opportunity where others saw defeat. After Champion Hill, everything changed. Pemberton made one last attempt at resistance the next day, but it was useless. He was pushed back inside Vicksburg, where he would endure a 6-week siege before surrendering on July 4, 1863. And it all started with the decision Grant made at Champion Hill. But the most extraordinary aspect of that battle was not the victory itself. It was what Grant revealed about leadership under extreme pressure. When his troops were driven from the crossroads by Bowen's counterattack, Grant did not panic. He did not despair. He analyzed the situation with absolute clarity and realized something other generals would have missed: the enemy was exhausted. That realization changed everything. Grant understood that moments of apparent defeat are often the moments of greatest opportunity, if you have the courage and mental clarity to see them. It was this ability that separated him from McClellan, from Hooker, from all the other Union generals who had failed before him. Military historians study Champion Hill to this day as the perfect example of transformational leadership. Grant had shown that great leaders are not those who never face setbacks. They are those who turn setbacks into breakthroughs. Grant proved that when you refuse to accept defeat, when you maintain the initiative even in the most chaotic moment, you become psychologically invincible. The victory at Champion Hill opened the way for everything that followed. Not just the fall of Vicksburg, but Grant's entire trajectory as a commander. When Lincoln finally found the general he was looking for in Grant, it was because of moments like Champion Hill. Moments where Grant demonstrated that he didn't just fight, he won because he refused to accept any other outcome. The terrain of Champion Hill still exists today. Thousands of acres of the battlefield are preserved. Historical markers detail every phase of the fight. But no marker can fully capture what truly happened there. Because Champion Hill was not just a battle. It was the moment Grant proved something fundamental about human nature, that limits exist only in our minds. That when we refuse to accept defeat, when we turn the enemy's trap into their own downfall, we become unstoppable. Grant was not just a talented general. He was a revolutionary in the psychology of leadership. The deadly trap at Champion Hill was there, perfectly set. Pemberton had chosen the ground. Bowen had launched the devastating counterattack. Everything was prepared to destroy Grant. But Grant turned that trap into the greatest victory of the Vicksburg campaign. He did this not with superior tactical brilliance, but with something far more powerful, the absolute refusal to accept defeat. And that is the deepest lesson of Champion Hill. No matter how perfectly set the trap is, no matter how desperate the situation seems, what matters is how you respond in that critical moment. Grant chose to attack when everyone expected him to retreat. He chose to see opportunity where others saw disaster. And that choice changed not only that battle but the entire course of the Civil War. If the story of how Grant turned the deadly trap of Champion Hill into a decisive victory moved you, subscribe to the channel to discover more explosive revelations about leadership, courage, and human nature. And tell me in the comments, what was your Champion Hill moment when you turned an apparent trap into your greatest victory?